You eat breakfast because you were told to eat breakfast. Someone, somewhere, at some point in your childhood, convinced you that the morning meal was essential, that skipping it would slow your metabolism, that your body needed fuel immediately upon waking, or something terrible would happen. You grew up believing that hunger was an emergency, that the sensation of an empty stomach was a problem requiring immediate solution, that going more than a few hours without food was somehow dangerous or at least deeply uncomfortable. Now you eat every few hours without questioning why. You snack between meals because the packages tell you to. You wake up and eat before you feel hungry because the clock says it is time. You have structured your entire life around the constant intake of food, and you have never stopped to ask whether any of this makes biological sense. Whether the human body was actually designed to receive fuel every 2 to 3 hours. Whether your ancestors, the ones whose survival pressures shaped the metabolism you inherited, ate the way you eat. They did not. For the vast majority of human existence, food was uncertain. Meals were irregular. Periods without eating were not emergencies, but normal occurrences that the body handled without crisis. The metabolism you carry in your cells evolved not in a world of refrigerators and vending machines, but in a world where successful hunts were separated by days, where harvests came seasonally, where the ability to function without constant food was not a luxury but a survival requirement. Your body is not designed for perpetual feeding. It is designed for cycles of feeding and fasting, periods of abundance alternating with periods of scarcity. And during those periods of scarcity, something remarkable happens. Systems activate that never turn on when food is constantly available. Repair mechanisms engage, cleaning processes initiate, longevity pathways open. The absence of food does not weaken your body. It triggers a cascade of responses that strengthen it, heal it, and prepare it to survive whatever challenge caused the scarcity in the first place. This is what I want to show you. Not fasting as punishment or deprivation. Not fasting as another diet trend promising quick weight loss. Fasting as a biological reset button that activates your body's most powerful self-repair systems. What happens inside you when you stop eating is more interesting, more beneficial, and more scientifically validated than almost anything that happens when you do eat. Let me take you through the timeline, hour by hour, so you understand exactly what your body does when food stops arriving, and why these processes matter for your health, your energy, your longevity, and your protection against the diseases that define modern aging. The first several hours after your last meal are unremarkable. Your body is processing what you ate, absorbing nutrients, storing glucose as glycogen in your liver and muscles, doing the routine work of digestion. Nothing special happens during this phase. Your metabolism operates in fed mode, using incoming fuel, storing excess, building and maintaining tissue with available resources. But around the 12-hour mark, something shifts. Your body recognizes that food has not arrived in a while. This is not panic. This is not starvation. This is simply a signal that triggers a different metabolic program, one that assumes food will not be available immediately and prepares accordingly. Of the first notable changes is a significant increase in growth hormone secretion. Growth hormone is exactly what it sounds like, a hormone that promotes growth. But its effects extend far beyond what the name suggests. In adults, growth hormone supports tissue repair, joint healing, protein synthesis, and the mobilization of fat stores for energy. It has anti-aging properties. It helps maintain muscle mass. It supports the regeneration of tissues throughout the body. Normally, growth hormone is released in pulses, primarily during sleep. But fasting amplifies this release substantially. Without constant incoming calories, your body increases growth hormone production as part of its adaptation to the fasted state. This is one of the reasons fasting can support fat burning while preserving muscle. Growth hormone promotes the use of stored fat for fuel while protecting protein structures that your body needs. If you exercise while in this fasted state, the growth hormone response is enhanced further. The combination of fasting and physical activity creates a hormonal environment that favors fat utilization and tissue repair simultaneously. You're not just passively waiting for benefits, you're actively amplifying them through movement. As the fast continues past 12 hours and approaches 18, another process begins to activate more strongly. This process has a name that sounds technical, but describes something profoundly important: autophagy. The word comes from Greek roots meaning self-eating, and while that sounds disturbing, the reality is magnificent. Autophagy is your body's cellular recycling program. Throughout your life, proteins become damaged. cellular components wear out. Debris accumulates inside cells that, if left unaddressed, contributes to aging and disease. Autophagy is the cleanup crew. It identifies these damaged components, breaks them down, and recycles their building blocks for use in new cellular construction. It is waste management and resource recovery combined into a single elegant process. In the constant presence of food, autophagy operates at a low baseline level. There is always work to do, but the signal to ramp up cleanup is never strong because the body is perpetually in building mode. When you fast, the signal changes. Without incoming nutrients, the body shifts from building to maintenance. Autophagy intensifies. The cleanup becomes more thorough. What gets cleaned up during autophagy? Damaged proteins that accumulate with age and contribute to cellular dysfunction. Advanced glycation end products, which are proteins that have been damaged by sugar and contribute to aging and disease. Amyloid plaques, the protein aggregates associated with neurological decline. Dysfunctional cellular components that would otherwise impair the cell's operation. The longer you fast, the more intense and comprehensive this cleaning process becomes. This is not metaphor. This is measurable biology. Researchers can observe autophagy increasing during fasting. They can see the degradation of damaged cellular material. They can document the renewal that follows. The process is real, and it accelerates significantly as fasting extends past the 18-hour mark. Around 24 hours of fasting, another threshold is crossed. Your liver glycogen, the stored glucose that serves as your body's readily accessible energy reserve, becomes depleted. This is a significant metabolic transition. With glycogen stores emptied, your body must find another fuel source. It turns to fat. The liver begins converting fatty acids into ketone bodies, molecules that can fuel most tissues in your body, including your brain. This transition from glucose to ketones is often called entering ketosis, and while the term has been popularized by various diets, the state itself is ancient. It is what your body was designed to do when carbohydrate-based fuel is unavailable. It is the backup system that allowed your ancestors to survive periods without food and to remain functional, even sharp, during those periods. The fat being converted into ketones is not just the fat visible under your skin. It includes the fat stored in your liver, the visceral fat surrounding your organs, the fat deposits that accumulate in places they should not be. Fasting gives your body access to these stored energy reserves in a way that constant eating never allows. When you're always fed, insulin remains elevated, and elevated insulin blocks fat release. During fasting, insulin drops, the gates open, and stored fat becomes available as fuel. For people with fatty liver, this is particularly relevant. The fat accumulated in liver tissue is mobilized during extended fasting. The liver, which was congested and overburdened, begins to clear. Function improves as the organ sheds the excess that was impairing it. Ketones themselves deserve attention because they are not simply an inferior replacement for glucose. In many ways, they are a superior fuel. When your body runs on ketones, appetite naturally suppresses. The desperate hunger that characterizes blood sugar swings diminishes. You feel less driven to eat, less obsessed with food, more capable of functioning without constant fuel intake. Ketones produce energy more efficiently than glucose in certain contexts. They require more oxygen to metabolize but produce less carbon dioxide as a waste product. They increase the production of antioxidants within your cells. They reduce the metabolic burden on various systems. Your thyroid, for instance, may appear to slow during fasting, but this is not damage. This is adaptation. Your body is becoming more efficient, requiring less metabolic drive to accomplish the same work. It's not a problem to be corrected, but an optimization to be appreciated. One of the most significant effects that accumulates during fasting is the reduction of systemic inflammation. Inflammation is your immune system's response to threats, and in acute situations it is necessary and beneficial. But chronic, low-grade inflammation underlies countless modern diseases. It contributes to arthritis, cardiovascular disease, metabolic dysfunction, autoimmune conditions, and many other problems that accumulate with age. Fasting interrupts the inflammatory process. Without constant incoming calories, particularly without the glucose spikes that promote inflammatory signaling, the body's inflammatory burden decreases. People with joint pain often notice improvement during fasting. Those with autoimmune conditions sometimes experience relief. The mechanisms are multiple: reduced inflammatory markers, improved immune regulation, decreased oxidative stress. The effect compounds over time and becomes more pronounced as fasting extends. Combining fasting with adequate vitamin D status appears to enhance these anti-inflammatory effects. Vitamin D itself modulates immune function, and when the immune-calming effects of fasting are added to optimal vitamin D levels, the anti-inflammatory result is greater than either intervention alone. While inflammation decreases throughout your body, something important happens in your digestive system. It rests. Your gut works constantly when you eat multiple times daily. The pancreas produces digestive enzymes. The gallbladder releases bile. The intestinal lining turns over rapidly to replace cells damaged by the digestive process. The entire system is in perpetual operation, never given a break, never allowed to focus on repair rather than processing. During fasting, this changes. The digestive organs experience a period of reduced workload. The pancreas can focus on other functions rather than constant enzyme production. The gut lining, which renews itself more rapidly than almost any tissue in your body, has the opportunity to repair without simultaneously managing the stress of digestion. For people with gut issues, this rest period can be transformative. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, a condition where bacteria proliferate in the wrong part of the digestive tract, often improves during fasting because the bacteria are deprived of the constant fuel that was feeding them. The gut microbiome rebalances as problematic organisms die back, and beneficial ones are given space to recover. Stem cells in the gut lining, which regenerate the tissue, increase during fasting. The entire system uses the break to rebuild and reset. Your heart experiences its own benefits during fasting. The heart muscle actually prefers ketones as a fuel source. When you fast long enough to enter ketosis, you are providing your heart with its preferred energy substrate. The cardiovascular system operates with greater efficiency. The metabolic stress that chronically elevated blood sugar places on blood vessels diminishes. The heart is not struggling, it is thriving. Your brain responds to fasting in ways that surprised researchers when first documented. The same brain that desperately signals for food when blood sugar drops seems to benefit profoundly from the fasted state once ketones become available. This makes evolutionary sense. In a food-scarce environment, cognitive function needed to remain sharp precisely when food was unavailable, so that hunting and foraging could succeed. A brain that became dull during fasting would have been a fatal liability. During fasting, the brain produces increased levels of a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, often abbreviated BDNF. This protein supports the growth and maintenance of neurons. It promotes the formation of new brain cells. It enhances the brain's ability to form connections and resist damage. Higher BDNF levels are associated with better mood, improved learning, and protection against neurodegenerative processes. Fasting increases BDNF naturally, without medication, simply by changing when you eat. One concern people raise about fasting is muscle loss. If the body is breaking down tissue for fuel, will it not consume muscle? The fear is understandable but largely misplaced for fasts of reasonable duration. Your body is not stupid. Muscle is expensive tissue to maintain and even more expensive to rebuild. Your body does not sacrifice muscle casually. During fasting, specific genes activate that spare protein. Rather than breaking down functional muscle tissue, your body preferentially breaks down damaged proteins, dysfunctional components, and accumulated cellular debris. This is autophagy at work again. The protein being consumed is precisely the protein that needed to be removed anyway. Healthy muscle tissue is protected while damaged proteins are recycled. You end up with less total protein but higher quality protein, less waste, more function. There is another effect that seems counterintuitive but reflects your body's remarkable efficiency. During fasting, your nutrient requirements actually decrease. When you're constantly fed, your metabolism runs at a higher rate, producing more waste, requiring more resources to maintain. When you fast, your body becomes more efficient. It accomplishes the same work with fewer resources. It produces less metabolic debris. It runs cleaner. This is not deprivation. This is optimization. Your body shifts from an inefficient mode of constant processing to an efficient mode of conservation and repair. When you eventually eat again, your body uses those nutrients more effectively because it has adapted to scarcity. The feast that follows a fast is processed differently than the feast that follows another feast. While the cellular cleanup of autophagy removes damaged proteins, a parallel process addresses another type of internal threat. Harmful microbes, fungi, and yeasts that have colonized tissues can be eliminated during fasting. The process involves controlled oxidative stress. a kind of internal fire that burns away pathogens while simultaneously increasing antioxidant production to protect healthy tissue. This balance, oxidative processes eliminating what should not be there while antioxidants protect what should, creates an environment where healing can occur. Overgrowths that have persisted are reduced. Biofilms that protected colonies of unwanted organisms are degraded. The terrain of your body shifts in ways that favour health over pathology. As fasting extends toward 48 and 72 hours, additional processes engage that do not activate with shorter fasts. Stem cells, the body's reservoir of regenerative potential, are strongly stimulated during prolonged fasting. These cells can differentiate into various tissue types and serve as the foundation for repair and renewal throughout the body. Extended fasting increases mitochondrial production. Mitochondria are the energy factories inside your cells. More mitochondria means greater energy production capacity. The new mitochondria that appear during extended fasting are fresh and functional, replacing old damaged ones that were contributing to cellular dysfunction. There are documented effects on immune function that go beyond inflammation reduction. The immune system appears to partially reset during extended fasting, clearing out old immune cells and generating new ones. People undergoing chemotherapy have sometimes used fasting strategically because it seems to protect healthy cells while leaving cancer cells more vulnerable to treatment. Research in this area continues, but the signal is consistent. Fasting supports the body's ability to distinguish between what should be preserved and what should be eliminated. I must be clear about caution here. Extended fasting, particularly beyond 24 hours, is powerful medicine. It produces significant physiological changes. Done improperly or without appropriate preparation, it can cause problems. Nutrient deficiencies that exist before a fast can become more pronounced during it. Electrolyte imbalances can develop. Dizziness, weakness, and other symptoms can occur, particularly in people who rush into extended fasting without gradual adaptation. The body adapts to fasting more gracefully when adaptation happens progressively. Someone who has never fasted should not begin with a 72-hour fast. They should start with shorter periods, allowing their metabolism to develop the flexibility needed to handle longer durations. They should ensure their mineral status is adequate before beginning. They should listen to their body during the process and respond appropriately to signals of distress. Extended fasts should be periodic interventions rather than constant practices. The benefits of a 3-day fast come from its occasional use, not from doing it every week. The regenerative processes activated by prolonged fasting need time to complete their work between fasting periods. Constant extended fasting would interfere with this completion. For most people most of the time, intermittent fasting provides a sustainable approach that captures many benefits without the demands of extended fasts. A pattern of eating within a 6-hour window and fasting for 18 hours daily, for example, regularly activates autophagy, promotes growth hormone release, reduces inflammation, and supports metabolic flexibility. This pattern can be maintained indefinitely as a lifestyle rather than a periodic intervention. The specific pattern can be customized based on individual goals and tolerance. Some people thrive with 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating. Some prefer a more compressed eating window of 4 or 6 hours. Some incorporate 1 or 2 longer fasts per month for additional autophagy and stem cell stimulation, while maintaining shorter daily fasts as their baseline. There is no single correct approach. There is finding what works for your body, your schedule, your goals. During any fast, hydration matters. Water fasting, where you consume water but no calories, is generally preferred over dry fasting, where no fluids are taken. The kidneys need water to function. Metabolic processes require adequate fluid. The detoxification that occurs during fasting proceeds more smoothly when water is available to flush waste products. Minerals become important during extended fasts. Sodium, potassium, magnesium. These electrolytes are consumed by various processes and can become depleted during fasting. A small amount of salt in water, a mineral supplement, some electrolyte support. These can prevent the headaches and weakness that sometimes accompany longer fasts. B vitamins, which support energy metabolism, may also be helpful. The goal is to support the fasting process rather than undermine it through preventable deficiencies. Some people observe that their blood sugar rises in the morning during fasting, even though they have not eaten. They check their glucose first thing, expecting a low number, and find it elevated. This confuses them and sometimes frightens them. They wonder if fasting is somehow making their blood sugar worse. This phenomenon has a name, the dawn phenomenon. It occurs because cortisol, the stress hormone, naturally rises in the morning to help wake you up. Cortisol stimulates the liver to release glucose, preparing your body for the activity of the day. In people with any degree of insulin resistance, this glucose release can temporarily elevate blood sugar. The dawn phenomenon is not caused by fasting. It is unmasked by fasting. The morning cortisol spike happens whether you eat or not. When you eat, incoming food glucose mixes with the liver's release and creates a combined signal that obscures what the liver alone is doing. When you fast, you see the liver's morning activity clearly because no incoming food is confusing the picture. Morning exercise can help normalize this glucose spike. Physical activity in the early hours uses the glucose the liver released, clearing it from the bloodstream through muscle contraction, just as we discussed in the blood sugar conversation. The combination of fasting and morning movement often produces better glucose numbers than either alone. Another laboratory finding that sometimes concerns people during fasting is elevated LDL cholesterol. They have been told that LDL is dangerous, that any increase is cause for alarm, that lowering it should be a priority. When fasting raises their LDL, they worry they are harming themselves. This concern deserves a nuanced response. Cholesterol is not merely a toxin to be minimized. It is an essential molecule that serves crucial functions throughout your body. Every cell membrane contains cholesterol. Hormones are built from cholesterol. Brain function requires cholesterol. Vitamin D is synthesized from cholesterol. Bile, which you need to digest fats and absorb fat-soluble vitamins, is made from cholesterol. During fasting, as your body mobilizes fat stores for energy, cholesterol is released along with the fatty acids. This cholesterol is being moved from storage sites to places where it will be used. The elevated LDL seen during fasting may reflect this mobilization and redistribution rather than any harmful process. It may indicate that repair is occurring, that cell membranes are being renewed, that hormones are being produced. The automatic assumption that any LDL increase is problematic does not account for the context in which the increase occurs. A person who is losing fat, regenerating tissue, producing healthy hormones, and feeling better should not necessarily be alarmed that their LDL has risen during this process. The number must be interpreted in the context of everything else that is happening. What fasting ultimately activates is your body's natural healing mode. The processes I have described, growth hormone release, autophagy, ketone production, inflammation reduction, gut healing, cardiovascular improvement, brain regeneration, stem cell activation, they are not foreign interventions. They are built-in systems that evolved to keep your ancestors alive during food scarcity. These systems still exist in you. They still function. They are simply never activated because food is always available. Modern life has created a perpetual fed state that suppresses your body's deepest healing capacities. By deliberately creating periods without food, you reactivate what was always there. You give your cells permission to clean themselves. You give your organs rest to repair. You give your metabolism the signal that has meant survival for millions of years of evolution. The benefits extend to longevity in ways that research is only beginning to fully document. Fasting increases stress resistance. It improves immune function. It enhances the body's ability to resist disease and recover from damage. It supports the systems that protect against cancer and neurodegeneration and cardiovascular failure. It does not do these things through any external substance, but through the activation of your own internal capabilities. This is why fasting is different from any diet or supplement or medication. Those interventions add something from outside. Fasting removes something, specifically the constant presence of food, and allows your body to do what it already knows how to do. The intelligence is built in. The programming exists. You are simply creating the conditions under which that programming can run. The practice requires consistency to produce significant results. A single fast will not reverse years of metabolic dysfunction. Regular intermittent fasting, sustained over months and years, gradually shifts your biological terrain. Periodic extended fasts add deeper interventions at strategic intervals. The combination produces cumulative change that single events cannot achieve. Done intelligently, with attention to hydration and minerals, with gradual adaptation rather than sudden extremes, with respect for your body's signals, fasting is among the most powerful tools available for health optimization. It costs nothing. It requires no prescription. It works with your biology rather than against it. It activates systems that exist specifically to heal and protect you. Your body is not designed for perpetual feeding. It is designed for rhythms, for cycles, for periods of abundance and periods of scarcity that alternate in patterns your metabolism recognizes. When you impose only abundance, only constant feeding, only perpetual fuel availability, you deny your body access to half of its operating system. The repair mode never engages, the cleaning crew never activates, the longevity mechanisms remain dormant. The hunger you feel when you first begin fasting is not danger, it is unfamiliarity. Your body has learned to expect food at certain times, and when food does not arrive, it complains. But this complaint is habit, not emergency. The emergency systems, the real starvation responses, do not activate for days or weeks, far beyond any fast you would intentionally undertake. What you feel in the first hours is simply adjustment, your metabolism learning that another mode exists, that fuel can come from storage rather than from your plate. As you adapt to fasting, the hunger diminishes. The ketones that replace glucose suppress appetite. The metabolic flexibility that develops allows you to move between fed and fasted states without distress. What once seemed impossible, going 18 or 24 hours without eating, becomes comfortable, even pleasant. You discover energy and clarity that constant eating obscured. You feel lighter, sharper, more capable. This is what your body has been waiting for. The opportunity to do what it already knows how to do. The signal that activates dormant healing systems. The rhythm that matches the environment your genes expect. You've been eating constantly because you were told to eat constantly. You were told wrong. Your body has another mode, a powerful mode, a healing mode that constant eating suppresses. That mode is available to you whenever you choose to access it. It requires only that you stop feeding long enough for your metabolism to recognize that a different program can now run. Stop eating. Let your body work. The intelligence is already there. The systems are already built. The healing is already programmed. You simply have to create the conditions under which all of it can finally happen.